Aiona Energy is a world leader in renewable power generation. A global company with a proven commitment to clean energy technologies. They've built one of the biggest concentrating solar power plants in the world in the Nevada desert, have installed hydro power stations and operate biomass plants. But of the thousands of megawatts of renewables that the business generates each year worldwide, the vast majority comes from wind power. Here in Australia, Aiona has a matchless record in harnessing this limitless resource.
Aiona is perfectly positioned for wind energy. We've got one of the best wind resources in the world, in fact, in Australia. We've been working in the wind area for nearly 20 years, developing technology, building projects around the world. And so we have all the capacity and the will to bring that technology to Australia.
In recent years, farmers across the country have been hit hard by the prolonged drought, and landowners in Warra near Ballarat in country Victoria are no exception. Set across a series of hills and high plateaus which form part of the Great Dividing Range, the area is used primarily for sheep and cattle grazing and potato growing.
Today we've been cleaning up the spud equipment and putting it back in the shed. The crop was pretty poor really. We didn't get rain when we needed it, and yep, she's a hot year. It seems to be run of the mill now. We're waiting for better weather, but no, it's drier years and hotter years, it's a bit harder. Less water. So it's getting harder to make a good living on the land.
In marginal farming country, landowners are often interested in the financial benefits of having wind turbines on their land.
With the seasons being drier and the drought's the way it is, any extra income is handy as far as wind towers would go. So yeah, a lot of that would help to take up a lot of the slack which you're not making out of other areas.
It's the job of Aiona's wind engineers to locate sites like Warra that have outstanding wind resources. At a prospective location, engineers use a network of masts to measure wind speeds at different heights and over several years.
So Jay, if you have a look at this, we can now do a direct connection to the logger.
Yep.
All the wind speed data changing every few seconds in the range roughly 7 to 9 metres a second. So overall it's now looking to be a good wind farm site.
As well as a good wind resource, a wind farm needs open and accessible land and a sufficiently large electricity grid nearby. As a project develops, there is a thorough consultation with landowners and communities.
Creating a partnership with communities is critical to us at Aiona. We develop, we build and we own and operate these projects for their full life cycle. So essentially we're here almost as a neighbour within the community for a long term, 25 years plus, and it's critical that we get the relationships working productively from the outset. Talking about turbines in this particular area?
Yes, yeah, well that's our boundary along there.
It's about understanding what the issues are broadly within the community, trying to design sensitively to fit well within the landscape. What are you doing with that land at the moment?
That one there, it's reasonably unproductive. It's got a lot of stone on it, and a turbine there would be fine.
My reaction to the wind farm going ahead in the area would be very positive. One, for the benefits that it will give us as landowners, and two, the benefits it will give the community.
Aiona endeavours to help communities prosper long term. It's part of their commitment to the principle of sustainability.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, mate.
Sustainability is at the very essence and the very core of what Aiona does. It's about making sure that there's environmental benefits, social benefits and economic benefits across everything we do.
This fundamental principle is incorporated into every phase of a wind farm project, including the design, which takes into account all the local constraints.
Right, there's the significant native vegetation in that area, isn't there?
It's right in the middle, because the idea really is to get the turbines sort of spread equally around it.
It generally takes 3 to 4 years to develop a comprehensive planning application. All the different elements of a project have to be in alignment before a wind farm can get government approval.
The key parameters that we're looking at when we go through the detailed planning process include things like noise impacts, flora and fauna, cultural heritage, and landscape and visual assessments. And we work through all of those areas in detail using external experts a lot of the time to help us come up with a design of the wind farm that's sensitive to any of the issues that we might identify along the way.
The visual impact of a wind farm can provoke many different reactions. Aiona Energy has many years' experience around the globe planning sites that satisfy local residents' requirements.
When we look at siting turbines, we work with the contours of the landscape. For example, for the Warra wind farm, the community made it quite clear that Mount Misery was a part of the landscape that was sensitive and important to them. And so the decision was made in designing the wind farm to avoid that particular area, and we've not placed turbines on or around Mount Misery.
Although modern turbines are very quiet, regulations governing turbine sound levels are still extremely stringent.
It's windy! Hey, hold on to your hats out here.
If local residents are concerned about the sound of turbines in their area, they are given a chance to assess the volume for themselves.
Most people, I find, they get out of the bus and they have a listen. They're pleasantly surprised. There's certainly no issue with standing outside and having a discussion. You certainly don't need to raise your voice or anything like that. Most of our turbines are at least 850 metres away from the nearest home.
It's sort of more like a fan noise. It's like your household microwave going. Yeah, it's just that sort of noise level.
They're no different to the wind blowing. Yeah, just a whoosh or something like that, yeah.
Oh, it's about this, bit of a hum. Yeah, not too bad.
The reaction's been very good. Before we get off, I say to them, you know, I'm not here to convince you of anything. You get out and you have a listen and you tell me what you think, because we think it's pretty good.
It's essential to assess the impact of wind turbines on any wildlife that may be living in a proposed area.
We're doing extensive surveys on site, and often that's looking at bird species, for example, but we also look at other species like reptiles, it might be frogs, it might even be moths, something like that. And the objective is to clearly identify any constraints on the site that we need to work around.
Aiona aims for a net gain in native vegetation. If a tree is removed, then it is replanted somewhere else.
We were planning for the cable route to come down and along the road reserve here. There's lots of nice red gums through here, and we don't want to be removing those. It's not the way we go about it. An alternate route maybe to come through this landowner's property. It seems like a feasible route to me. Come across the road, come along through parallel with the fence and across through those trees. We'll have to get the approvals from the landowner, but we'll go and have a talk to him and see what he's got to say.
One of the most important requirements is to monitor and manage any impact on the cultural and historical significance of a wind farm location.
Which is just this area here. We've got quite a high density of cultural heritage sites.
How does that relate to sort of some of the better wind resource up in that section?
With the development of the Warra wind farm, we had to do on-site assessments around all of our turbines to determine whether or not there were any areas of cultural significance. In the event that there were, then we had to either avoid them or to manage those sites carefully in close association with representatives from the local Indigenous community as on-site monitors.
We found artefacts up down the hill that was dated back 1500 years. They used the quartz for making spearheads, for, say, killing lizards or goannas or whatever. So it means a lot, yeah. It means a lot that you actually find the stuff and you know that the ancestors have been here.
The Warra wind farm will comprise 128 turbines over 173 square kilometres. It will be Aithiona's largest renewable power project and the biggest wind farm in the Southern Hemisphere to date.
Here at Warra, we've got a new landscape. We've got a wonderful resource, we've got a fantastic community, we've got electricity connection points that we can put the green power into. And what we're going to see is a future where wind turbines are built here amongst landowners that are passionate about the project and a community that's passionate, and we'll see those turbines come out of the ground and create green power.
Aiona wind turbine technology is well proven. Each turbine is topped by an enclosure called a nacelle, which houses the generator and holds the rotor. Air flows past the turbine, causing the rotor to turn the generator, which converts the rotational energy to electricity. At Warra, each 1.5 megawatt turbine will provide sufficient electricity to power 750 homes and will save over 5,000 tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions per year. As construction starts on the wind farm, the first phase is civil works. This includes laying access tracks and the turbine foundations.
There are 128 foundations and our best production rate to date is 12 per week, which is pretty good going considering the size of this project.
The principles of sustainability are applied to every aspect of the construction phase on a daily basis. The Warra Wind Farm Maintenance Facility showcases environmentally sustainable design. A comprehensive environmental management plan minimises the impact of construction on site. Measures are taken to prevent water erosion on access tracks, and the construction site offices are run sustainably.
We've plumbed up all the site huts. We can collect all the rainwater into this tank and 2 other minor tanks we have over the other side, such that we get all of it. And the water then gets distributed throughout lunchrooms, into the toilet block and into the first aid hut. Anything else that we can physically recycle, we'll do so. Our objective is to leave the compound as we found it, and the design that we have adopted makes it easy for us to do that.
A primary focus is to engage with the local community and to employ local contractors wherever possible.
On a site like this, we've used in the order of 30 contractors. About 60 to 70% of them have been from the local community. So we're talking well above 200 people that have come from the Warra or the wider region in this area. So it really does show that the project like this will support people, salaries, families, money being injected into local stores. It's fantastic for the region, and it's certainly a cornerstone of how Aiona wants to operate.
Aiona Energy has a worldwide turbine construction operation. The various sections that make up each wind turbine are constructed in different parts of the globe. For Warra, the nacelles were constructed in Spain. The turbine blades were made in Brazil. The 80-metre towers, which come in 3 sections, were built in Portland, Victoria and Tasmania. On such a large wind farm, the potential impacts of construction traffic are carefully monitored. As the turbines arrive for installation, civil engineering continues. Cable trenches are dug to make sure power lines from the turbines are out of sight underground. The substations and terminal are built, and the overhead power lines that take the power out to the community and beyond are set up.
What we're about to do is have the 2 cranes rotate the base so that we can stand it up. As you can see, Jason's the main crane. He'll end up with 55 tonne before it's put over the bulk. And the midsection is 56, slightly heavier, and the top's about 30 tonne.
The first stage in constructing a turbine is to erect the tower, consisting of 3 sections made of steel tubes held in place by concrete footings.
Now, it's pretty critical that we have the base in the correct position. There's a lot of components inside there, so if we go damaging any of those, it's It's pretty major. The boys are all under radio communication, so we've all got our little jobs to do, so we're all pretty focused on what's happening. It's all a bit of a team effort. At the moment offhand, it's about 23 bases unloaded, probably 18 complete towers on the ground ready for final erection. I think we're ahead of schedule.
Next, the nacelle is mounted on top of the tower. Then the 3 blades, each 35 to 40 metres long and made from light composite materials, are attached to the hub.
That's it.
And finally, the complete rotor is lifted into place and joined to the nacelle. As construction progresses, the local landowners can still operate their farms normally.
It hasn't been a drama. When you could, you'd have your stock not in the paddock, run around under their feet and that sort of thing. And at the same time, if there was graders running around, you could get the odd job done yourself if you needed something levelled up or things like that. Levelled out my rough gateway there too. That's another one of the bonuses of it all, I suppose, yeah. But they're just doing the final tidy-ups where the cable was laid underground.
They intermingle in well with their farming practices, not causing any troubles. The roadways at the moment are handy to get from A to B on, and also in years to come they'll be handy for shifting a lot of machinery and other farming produce in and out of the place.
Animals such as sheep and cattle habitually graze around the wind turbines undisturbed.
Sheep up here interact fine with the towers and everything else. After a while, they just becomes part of the place as a windmill or a tree would, and a lot of times they even use the wind towers to help shade themselves.
Very happy with the way the construction is going, yes. Their preparedness to listen to what we've had to say, you just couldn't fault it.
To provide a regular forum for the local community during the construction phase, Aiona sets up a community reference group.
With respect to turbines, we've got 62 of the 128 up in the air at the moment. It's probably misinformation which generates the most problems. So having a single point where stakeholders can ask us questions about what's happening and we can deliver the most up-to-date information is probably the greatest benefit for the wind farm and the local community.
On the agenda at this month's meeting is the Warra Wind Farm viewing area, which allows interested passing traffic a place to stop.
We've had a traffic safety engineer look at this specifically in this site, and this layout is actually developed from the Australian road standards to say it's a certified safe layout.
And you've got a landscape buffer. Yeah, so how tall are the...
Certainly from a local government perspective, we encourage business to operate in this way, and it just makes the whole journey really positive and easy for all concerned.
The weather on site has taken a turn for the worst, and work on the main cranes is suspended due to safety.
Well, it's been a very quiet day, obviously. We've had rain and quite high winds, which unfortunately doesn't suit the process of the works. The weather is the driving force behind how we proceed. We're obviously out in amongst it all the time, and the project will march to the beat of the weather, and we can't do much about it, so we'll do the best we can with what we're dealt with. It's been well organised. We've had a good backup from our head office. Generally, I think it'll be hard to imagine it going much better than it has done, excluding the weather.
Whatever the weather, Aiona is committed to bringing direct long-term benefits to the communities it works with. At Warra, that means a new climbing frame for the kindergarten, sponsorship for the bowls club and for the local footy and netball teams.
The sponsorship's going very well. It just enables us to basically put some of those funds back into the facility, and netball, football, and supply some of the items they require. It doesn't directly impinge on the results of the game, but it does make it easier to get the teams out there on a Saturday. Yeah.
As much as they put the money in there, we like to see them come along and enjoy themselves and also get to know the community there, because it's easy enough just to talk to someone on the phone, but when you actually see them face to face, you get a rapport with them, and it's much appreciated.
A break in the weather means construction can restart, and construction manager Bruce Payne's mood is improving.
During the course of the project we've had our periods of inclement weather, but the sort of weather we're experiencing through the last few weeks is a pleasure and a delight, and I'd rather we worked under these conditions all the time.
Connecting to the grid on time is an absolute priority. It's then that a wind farm can begin to generate electricity and start to pay for itself.
Obviously there's limitations with the main crane at wind speeds that we've factored in inclement weather. We've got all our teams working as hard as they possibly can to achieve all the turbines being in the air at the time that the grid will be available so that we can actually start generating.
Elsewhere at Warra Wind Farm, the viewing area is underway. Electricians are preparing turbines for commissioning, and the maintenance facility is complete. The low-energy building is constructed from sustainable materials and is powered with 100% wind energy.
It's a beautiful building. It's all environmentally friendly, all recycled timber out the front, all hydronic heating and cooling inside. It's a nice environment to work in.
Aiona coming in with the wind farm has been such a great, tremendous boost. It really has lifted people's spirits. It's all been such a wonderful thing for the area to see it all happen and go ahead. We can't wait for the turbines to actually get going to see what they look like now.
As construction nears completion, a local school brings pupils to Warra to see the turbines for themselves.
I guess we're celebrating World Environment Day as part of our studies in harmony and in sustainability. And the children have looked at wind energy and they've looked at various different forms of energy, and in Ballarat wind energy has certainly been topical. So it's something I guess was a good opportunity for us to come and explore it. They need to be able to have an informed opinion at the end of the day, so unless they can come out and see things like this in their own backyard, they'll never have an informed opinion. They'll only rely on what they might hear from others.
We're making the kids into the shape and size of a blade. So this will give them some idea of how big the blades are.
30 metres. So that's, when you see it like this, you realise how big it is, don't you?
So have a look up. Everybody look up at the blade. On the count of 3, blow as hard as you can and we'll see it go around. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now harder. Harder.
It's turning around.
We use the wind to generate power that goes directly to their homes. The children need to understand that this is their future that we're helping to create. And this wind farm will be here for 25 years, so more than likely some of these kids will be working on them in the future.
I think it's good because you don't use renewable energy. Like, we can keep making windmills, but if we use all the non-renewable energy, we won't have any more.
It's good because it doesn't pollute the air and it doesn't create any greenhouse gases in that, and it still creates electricity.
Those cables are connected to the houses and all those places which need electricity.
It's time to bring the turbines online.
Good morning, Melbourne Control Room. Clyde speaking.
Melbourne Control Room, this is Glenn Wright at the Warra Wind Farm. I request start-up of turbine 5E3. I repeat, start-up of turbine 5E3. Over.
All right, Glenn's starting up 5E3 and 5E3 is started.
Turbines are automated. Once the technicians put the turbine into run mode, the turbine will yaw into the wind. The blades will in turn pitch to actually catch the wind, and simply speaking, the blades will start to spin and the turbine will start generating power. Melbourne Control Room, I confirm that blades are pitching and we are now beginning to turn over.
Yep, we can confirm that the turbine's rotating and looking pretty good from here.
Turbine is now spinning, all looking good. Over and out.
Probably never worked so hard in my entire life, but I've also never worked on a job that had given me so much satisfaction. So now to stand in amongst this environment and to have the turbine spinning and to be generating renewable energy is just wonderful.
Over the next 6 months, Aiona Energy commissioned 1 turbine per day until all 128 1.5 megawatt turbines were feeding green power into the grid. A few weeks later, Warra Wind Farm reached its maximum generating capacity of 192 megawatts. That's enough power to provide 144,000 Australian homes with all their electricity needs.
The fantastic benefit of wind power is that it's limitless and it's pure, and so the wind coming across the land will move through these initial turbines near us, move through to the next set of turbines creating power, and moves on to those turbines in the distance. So it's a limitless power supply and continually creates clean fuel for the people of Australia.
Warra Wind Farm will offset up to 650,000 tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions every year. It's the start of another day at Warra Wind Farm Maintenance Facility.
Morty and Frank, they're doing the comms today. A few other fellas are still carrying on with the 6 monthly maintenance. Today also the snakes have been out lately. There's been a few sighted and the weather's picking up, so just make sure you look out for the sun.
A permanent operations and maintenance staff of 26 ensures the wind farm generates electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They certainly are skilled. They look after the machines as if they were their own. Much the same as looking after your own car. If you don't look after a car, it'll break down and it'll annoy you, similar to a turbine. At the end of the day, a wind turbine generator is a machine, and it's critical that we maintain them correctly.
At the beginning of each shift, the technicians pick up a job sheet and head out to the turbine. Each turbine has a regular 3-monthly maintenance program to ensure it's in a fit state of operation at all times.
Turbine 5B5 is now stopped. Can you please carry out steps 6, 7 and 8 inclusive, issue the TAP and give me a call back when complete.
The crews follow a strict protocol when entering the turbine, and all personnel are height safety trained.
The most important thing with the way that we operate and maintain the wind farm is safety. Safety is paramount, of course. Beyond safety, we're simply here to ensure that the turbines generate at their optimum, because that in turn ensures that we generate at our capacity, and that is our ultimate goal.
Once inside the nacelle, the maintenance crew begin their work. The crew may be responding to a fault or performing retrofits or upgrades.
Come on in. Yeah, come on.
Elsewhere on the wind farm, monitoring for environmental impacts such as bird strikes continues into the operations phase.
No finds today, which is good. We don't actually like to find things, but if it's there, she'll find it. Elmo, come here. Everything we do as humans has an impact on the environment and our animals, but it's about achieving acceptable impacts. So we're monitoring here to make sure that we're not having an impact that's going to threaten the population or any particular species. At this stage, Elmo and I are up on site a couple of times a week, every week. We'll be out here monitoring for around 2 years, and provided that we've reached all our acceptable benchmarks, then we can finish surveying after that time.
At the southeast corner of Warra Wind Farm, the Ballarat and District Aboriginal Cooperative gathers together with Aiona and the local community for a smoking ceremony and to pay respects to the Wathaurong ancestors who lived on the site for thousands of years.
We were on site just monitoring, making sure that if anything was dug up, that we were able to make a note that it was there and to put it back. We know the artefacts are being buried and have been buried under the turbines, and that's not going anywhere. So I think it's great. It's a good preservation of our history.
It's a great pleasure to share this really momentous day with you, and I'd just like to present to Karen and the cooperative community a token of our appreciation for working with us on this site.
Oh,
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much.
A plaque is unveiled to mark the spot where over 2,000 Indigenous artefacts were found.
This helps us to know facts about our Aboriginal histories for our children and our future generations of this country. It's been a pleasure working with you. I think we've been able to establish a good relationship and look forward to the future.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Way back. Let him up. Let him up. Let him up.
The wind farm, well, it's improved the business immeasurably. It's a more viable operation, giving us a guaranteed income. Virtually drought-proofed the farm.
Before you'd have to budget on exactly what the land would make you. Now we can have what the wind farm's giving us and what the farm can do. So it's a more secure future.
At Warra, Aiona has set up a community fund to share the benefit of the project back into the local area.
It's just given us a great start. Terrific things for the schools, the kindergarten, sporting activities and the recreation reserve here, right through to horticultural. It's just amazing what it's actually meant for us.
Our word's our bond. We want to make sure that the community has absolutely no doubt about their future. We're here working together, solving problems, solving challenges, being successful together as true partners for the long term.
Working in tandem with communities across the world, Aiona Energy last year saved nearly 6 million tonnes of CO2 through its green power generation. That's the equivalent cleaning effect on the atmosphere of 300 million trees.
So people are up there, you're just going to do a visual check on the rails and the bolts, make sure none of the bolts on the rails have come loose.
By using the principles of sustainability, together with innovative technologies, Aiona is changing the way energy is generated in Australia.